Hey, my Talk Shop girls. This is one of my last videos that I am producing. And the topic is going to be a little bit sciencey, but it was very like breakthrough for me and helpful. And so once I hear something or I implement it, I always want to share it with you ladies. This was not originated by me. It's by one of my coaches. She taught this. And she talked, we have this like biological slash brain unit we go into. It's kind of sciencey, so I love it. But I wanted to convey some of this because I think it's very helpful. The title of her, private video was something like about hormones, estrogen or testosterone falling, estrogen raising. And the premise of this video is how do you sustain, how do you keep that that magnetism, that polarity, that interest within marriage, especially long-term marriages, because you're right. Things happen, kids, right? I mean, I'm gonna have a kid soon and life and responsibilities, and it's so easy to get into the roommate phase. And in fact, people kind of talk about it like it's supposed to happen, it's meant to be, buckle down, oh, year seven, etc. And I want to preface real quick, this video is, I don't really say this too often, but when we talk about hormones or, occupying, more hormonally brain how do I say this, more masculine hormone brain based or feminine hormone brain. There's certain brains or areas in the brain you can tap into that's more feminine, even for the man, that's considered quote unquote feminine. Like let's say even psyche, reflection, introspection, that's considered more like a feminine hormone or brain, part of the brain. But the way she always talks about is women when they're still menstruating and still in some ways they're more hormonally more feminine or they're still producing more estrogen. And that's not to say later on post-menopause women can't experience this. It's just saying you have to more naturally orientate yourself to be in the feminine hormone and the estrogenic, if I could say, presence. No different than, let's say you are taking care of your husband, right? We have a girl in our group whose husband had some kind of traumatic injury and she's taking care of him a lot. And so because she's in the caretaker kind of provider role, right? So of course it's so much easier to blend out that polarity. And so she has to, even as my coach says, even more so orientate herself to be in the feminine hormonal presence. I don't know, there's a word I'm searching for and I can't find it. In relationship to the man. She has to still find ways to see him as the man to help her orientate as the feminine, because it could get so easy that she overtakes and she's now, if I could say, again, for lack of better terminology, the man in the relationship. And I don't like to say that. I don't think that's accurate, but in terms of energy and what that feels like. And so, my coach would say, and then ladies, if like let's say your husband does has, let's say, lower testosterone levels for whatever reason, especially in this day and age, it just seems to be like affected everywhere, or you are helping him in some kind of taking role, caretaking role or whatever, you have to be able to still see him as the man. That's respect. And whether that's dropping more into asking for help or appreciation of him. So anyways, I'm going to kind of break this down. I'm going to go a little fast because I don't want to get too sciencey. But again, the idea is how do you keep that spark, that pizzazz in marriage? And it's polarity. It really is. And these are not just these magical concepts, it's orientation, it's presence, it's energy, and it is intentionality. Like, what are you cultivating? And she said, again, to hopefully avoid or get out of roommate phase, we have to drop into where there is that polarity, which means, ladies, I don't remember if she said 20 times or 30 times, but women have to whatever like testosterone estrogen level the woman's at, the man has to be like 20 or 30 times more in his testosterone level. Now, I'm not going to comment on the biological, like actual testosterone hormones that are measurable. I'm talking about, believe it or not, let me say this. It's not like I can like grow testosterone in my husband, right? That's not what we're talking about. It's that my, again, reaction, my orientation, my need for him, my seeing him as the man, wanting to see his rightness, receiving him, that naturally rises, makes any man rise deeper into his maleness, if I could say it like that. Hence, we're going to say testosterone in this video. And so it was very interesting. Some of this stuff kind of surprised me. But one of the things that was shared, let me check something. Okay, was okay. So when women are in their receivership, then they ask men to help them. And it's not a naggy, it's this is maybe, it could be what I desire. Sure, it could be things like, this is what I desire. I love flowers, makes me feel so happy. We're expressing desires and just this clean energy, or honey, I feel overwhelmed right now with all the things going on, like in the kitchen. Can you please help me with dishes or something, right? We're asking them for help. And men, hear me right, they need to be used. But what I'm really saying is they need to feel useful for us, because that's when they do, they accomplish, they complete something, they make us happy through the process. That's how they get purpose, period. And again, all these examples are mostly my coach's examples of asking for help. Okay, let's say he agrees to do dishes. Women, are you there in the kitchen with him, trying to correct how he's holding the sponge and what soap to use and where to put this and where to not? Because when we're starting to like teach him and guide him, okay, now we're almost over testosteroning, I guess you can say, him. Now you're back in that role. Or are you trying to overcorrect? Or are you trying to correct after he's done? Those are those things I think about it. Like, is it worth it? Is it worth it in your marriage that you just bossed him around how to do the dishes? Is it, if I'm thinking of polarity in the long run of my union, not just my marriage, okay? Marriage in legal terms, but I look at the word union. That's what makes marriage amazing. Is it worth it, right? And so I can ask for help and I can let him do what he needs to do. And I receive, and in graciousness and again, clean energy, I get to say thank you. And it's not just words, it's always in your energy. Men are really good at reading that type of energy and seeing it. And it's, I don't know, I can already tap into that energy just imagining like the last time my husband, I came home and he like did the dishes and this and that, and I was just like, whoa, thank you. Like, it just felt so good. And he's like, yeah, you left and you were busy doing your stuff and gave me some space to just, I don't know, clean up and do some stuff around the house. It started to remind me of when we were dating and I was waiting for my girlfriend to come home or come visit me. And I'm like, okay, say no more. I will be gone even more so you could do whatever you need in the house. I'll happy like to come into this, right? But women, when we are again in that bossy, in that naggy, do this is how I want it, we are now in that testosterone level. And men, when they keep hearing this like nagginess, they just kind of like tune out. Their brain does that. It's like a baby's crying and crying, they just kind of tune out. Whereas the woman can't, right? That's why she's thinking, well, if I keep nagging or if the baby keeps crying, it'll get to him, because that it gets to us, but not to the man necessarily. And so this is why I think even my coach used this example. Like, it's one thing to say, let's say, I love flowers, or I love coming home and receiving this and it's beautiful. You express your heart, clean energy, right? You're never saying anything to manipulate, to make him do anything. But as soon as you're like, I want you to do this, or I want you to want to do this for me, I want flowers. Okay, flowers mean a lot. Right, as soon as we're starting to get into that like naggy, it's again, there's a difference between needing a man, I receive your help, I'd like your help, I need your help, versus that neediness, nagginess. Like, we can all like honestly tap into that feeling and that vibe. And so speaking of men needing to be used, a couple examples. My coach had this example where her friend, who is remodeling this massive mansion her husband got her. And I know I've seen them on social media. They're a pretty cool couple. He loves her so much. They did a lot of polarity work to fix their marriage, and it's amazing now. And, she's like, this, her friend's like, oh, I want the shade of color on the wall and this and that. And, and he's doing it for her. And online, I'm thinking, watching them, wow, what a man. He loves her so much. He's so happy to do all that. He must like renovating, blah, blah, blah. And my coach is like, yeah, so my friend sent me this video saying, look at us, we're antique shopping for this house. And he basically just grunts, I can't believe you're making me do this shit. It just doesn't sound happy. And my coach is laughing because she's like, most women would hear that and be like, he's not happy? But I want you to want to do this. Otherwise, why are you here? Like, if you're not enjoying this or you don't want to do this before, then we try to like, we get upset, we write it off, we get butthurt. And the reality, my coach says, the reality is women, he doesn't need to be happy. Women need to, out of their own happiness and joyous state, they like to give and do. That's not men. They have to do to feel good. And so when they do whatever it is that makes their woman happy or help out, and they don't even have to like, again, they don't feel and do at the same time, they just do. So asking them to tap into feeling and desire is a little different. But having that man be there and do that for her, and he sees how his woman is happy and lit up, that's him displaying his usefulness. That's him being in purpose and servitude to her. And so it has nothing to do with his feelings. And so or her feelings. And so I'm like, oh, okay, okay. So I wrote in my group chat, I said, that reminds me then when we were remodeling with my husband at the time, fiance, this house in 4 months and planning a wedding, it was beyond stressful, I'm not gonna lie. And it was like one of the worst months, like when we were in the thick of it, and we're just like, he and I had to go downstairs and just like put some stuff up on the drywall or paint. I don't remember what it was. And he my man, tells me, he's like, I just want to let you know. And I know we're all wiped, right? He's like, I want to let you know that I'm doing this for you. Ladies, I'm going to be honest. This is before my mentorship classes. I was so offended and angry and butthurt. And, it's like, the things that you can go in your head and spiral. Well, excuse me, you're welcome. And I mean, I didn't say all that. I probably wanted to just collapse and cry. I was so tired. But like in my head, right? It's like, you're welcome. I'm doing this for you. It's thanks because of me, the things that we can say, right? I don't need this, you would be living in a dump if it wasn't for me, the things that we can say, right? And so I shared the story with my coach, and she's like, yes, this is him doing this for you. I mean, for real, because that was my request. If you want to get married to me, then I need a remodeled house. We needed the floors, the walls, like literally every surface area needed to be changed. Otherwise, it's toxic to smell it. And what's the point of me moving in if I have to like move it out immediately? And that was my, if I could say, prerequisite for being married and entering his home. And he agreed. And yeah, now we get to like, be happy in this house. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, this comment that he said makes, I understand it so differently now. It totally makes sense. It's fine. It's um like I get it now. Like I don't have to take it so personally in terms of feelings. And and that's why we women get upset, like, well, I want you to want to give me flowers. I want you to want to give me a massage or whatever, right? And, my coach said again, women, they're doing all of this because they love us, but also think about it. You will do things for your children that you don't want to do, but you do it because love. You're right. They're in your territory. You're like that masculine, if I could say, entity for your kids, and you will do plenty for those kids. That you don't want to do. Like one of my clients was like, oh my gosh, my kid loves when I play Legos with her. I don't like Legos, right? But for this kid, because she lights up, that's how I'll do it for my kid. Like love drives us to do that. Love drives us to get up in the middle of the night and feed the baby for the 15th time, right? So, ladies, continue to make sure to orientate and see him as the man and drop down when you can. A couple quick other things before I gotta run. Vasopressin is the hormone required for bonding, male bonding, and that happens when we do things together. Yeah, so like for instance, I did not want to build this house together, remodel. My husband did. And we figured out how to bond. And it doesn't have to be hard stuff, but it is through challenges. But like like when a man does things with you, right? It's one thing to do it for you, but like with you, and you're the person that he's creating something with, vasopressin gets built, and that's how he emotionally starts to bond to you. And that's why, especially, I tell girls early in dating, like, let him do things for you or do it together. You don't like, please don't be doing everything for him. If you want him to bond, like, he has to earn something. There has to be some kind of work, some kind of creation together. And let's say you're married, prolactin is the hormone that gets released for men after sex. Well, specifically that she used the example sex, and that is specifically built. So the vasopressin bonding hormone, it creates more trust. And once a man is able to experience that connection through sex or after sex, he releases prolactin, which helps him feel even more. I'm gonna double check this verbiage. Actually, I'm going to read this. Vasopressin is the bonding hormone produced by a man when you both create intimacy from solving a problem. So it's two-way. He and you solve a problem together where trust is built. Prolactin is what is released by a man after sex with a woman he loves and has intimacy with, which intimacy for a man is oftentimes trust, is how they say it. Now, before I run, I'm gonna drop something that shocked me. So this is like the oxytocin, I guess, for men, how they like the vasopressin and prolactin. You can say that's their oxytocin. I was shocked to find out what oxytocin was for women. I'm thinking cuddles, and yes, we know things like breastfeeding or whatnot. I could not believe oxytocin. Oh, sorry. No. Oxytocin was right, the cuddling, the love, and all that. Just sex, I guess you could say, is going to be dopamine for men. What was the dopamine for women? I was shocked to find this out. Nagging. Can you believe it, ladies? When we're nagging, when we're expecting, when we're negative, when we're this. And at first I was like, that doesn't even make sense. That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. But then look at this culture of immaturity and toxicity we have. Immature, nagging, toxic, you're not doing this, and you never do this for me, and I'm a victim. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I would have never related it to dopamine, but I could see how people can get hits off of that, getting back into that old nasty program. So anyways, I'm just reminding you ladies, this is when we're talking about testosterone, estrogen, it's one thing when we're biologically able to have or produce that, right? But let's say that is lacking in hormones or whatever's going on. The point is, the more we orientate and drop into that estrogenic energy, openness and receivership, communication, clean energy, see him as the man, orientate. Thank you. Can you help me? I desire your help. Thank you for being there for me. You can imagine that you can already probably sense more of that polarity versus the woman being in that testosterone. I'm the boss, I'm ruling everything, I'm in charge. And men, if you're too high in your testosterone, you'll trigger oftentimes their testosterone and it becomes a competition, at least in dating. And then usually that probably won't go anywhere. Or what happens is when we say men are passive, it's men go into conservation energy and it's like, okay, well, the woman's got it. I don't need to do anything. If there's an emergency, I'll get up. If there's some war, if there's a lion, I got it, but otherwise she's got it. I'm in energy conservation mode. So I just needed to release this real quick. Hopefully this helps someone. Blessings, bliss, and I'll talk to you girls later.